I just remember sitting on the plane and like thinking to myself, like, okay, this is clearly not working out. Like, God, what do you want me to do? Because I really thought that I was supposed to be a missionary teacher, you know? And then I just, not that I heard a voice, but like, you know, when you just know, like God like just sends messages into your heart. Like, I just knew in my heart that he was asking me, like, what have I given you? You know, like, what are the gifts that you already have?
Welcome back to another episode of Capture the Thought. As you know, we always bring amazing guests to the show, and today is no different, as we're joined by Eden Lang, who's a singer, songwriter, and animator. Welcome, Eden.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you on the show. So, let's start light. Is there one song that you have constantly on rotation right now?
Like one of my own, or
just a song that you can't stop listening to, that is just your jam for the season?
Oh, okay. So that's a hard one because there's a lot. But right now, I think I would say it's Call Your Mom by Noah Khan. I love that song.
Oh, okay.
It's my air and water right now.
Really?
Yeah, that song is just so good. Yeah.
I haven't listened to it. I should. I'm always on the lookout for new music.
Yeah.
So I should definitely.
I'll send it to you. It's so good.
And so tell me a bit about yourself, your background, and your upbringing.
Yeah. Okay, so where do you want me to start? Like right at the beginning?
Right at the beginning.
Cool.
Your defining moments even.
Okay, so I am an only girl in a family of 2 brothers. And I am the middle child as well. So not only am I the only girl, but I'm also the middle child. And I never grew up in a Christian home. Like I grew up knowing about God, but not knowing God. And like my mom is a relapsed Catholic, and my dad was a Baptist and then relapsed as well. So they talked about God. It was like I always knew there was a God, but I never like had that relationship with him. I am told that at some stage we did go to church when I was a baby, but I was like 2 months old, so I don't remember. So I grew up not going to church, not like reading the Bible with my family. It was like not a thing in our house. And then I was homeschooled up until like grade 2. Yeah, up until like grade 2. Then I went to my first school, which was an all-black school, and my brother and I were like the only colors. And plus we were homeschooled, so we were bullied a lot because we were just awkward. And then I moved to another school where we were the only colors in a school of whites, and we were bullied even more.
So you've always stuck out.
I've always been the outcast. I've always been like that middle child homeschooler who's just never fit in anywhere. And then like up until grade 7, I was homeschooled again from like grade 4 to grade 7. And then Form 1, I went to move to Bulawayo with my family. And I went to a high school where it was just coloreds. And I was bullied again. So I have like a long history of bullying from all sides.
Yeah.
And just always been a misfit, always been like on the outskirts. And I'm very introverted as well, so I didn't have like many friends growing up. It took me a while to like get friends, and the friends that I have now, they're like my friends from Form 2, and they're still my friends to this day. It's like I have 1 or 2 and that's it. And that's like my beginning, my upbringing. I don't know if I should get into more detail.
No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you didn't grow up knowing, well, you knew of God, but you didn't know God.
Yes.
And so at what point did you decide that you wanted to have a relationship with Christ? How did that come about for you?
So that one I also ask a lot, because there was never a person who came to me and like explained the gospel to me. It was just like one day, I think I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I knelt down in my grandmother's house. I said the sinner's prayer, what I understand now to be the sinner's prayer. And there was just this huge change in my life, because like before that, I was like very, because of the bullying, I think, and trauma and stuff like that, I was very afraid. Like, I was afraid of people, like, so much. I was like so afraid of rejection, and like I had nightmares growing up, and like I felt like people were out to get me. So I think it's that fear that like drove me to call on like a higher power, and obviously that was Jesus. And yeah, Jesus came into my heart, and there was just this change. Like, all the fear that I had just like disappeared. I remember it so clearly to this day, like the feeling kneeling in my grandmother's house and just feeling this peace come over me, like everything's okay, and like all the fear just gone. And so I think that's how I came to know Christ, and that's how I came to give my life to God. And from there, it was just like a huge change, not only how I felt, but like my family could see that, wow, like Eden is different. Something has happened to Eden. And in my family, like I made an impact in my own way, like to them as well. So I guess that's where the journey, my spiritual journey began. Yeah.
Wow. And so even after you gave your life to Christ, did you still face the bullying, or it's something that you faced, but now you could handle it better?
Yeah. So, the bullying continued, especially like in high school when we moved back to a.r.t. after we went to Bulawayo. The bullying continued. I was also driven to people pleasing. Like, in an attempt to like protect myself from rejection, I became like a people pleaser, not only at school but like at home as well. Like, I would just be the one doing all the chores because I just wanted my parents to like approve of me. I was always doing stuff for my granny, you know. I just wanted that approval, I wanted that acceptance, and so it drove me to be like a people pleaser at school as well. But that didn't end well because I ended up like always in the wrong crowd, always doing things that were not like authentic to me, just so that I could have like, you know, the approval of others, which is kind of sad, but I guess we all go through it as teenagers. Yeah,
that is so true. How did you get over I mean, is it something that you still struggle with, the people pleasing, or are you now like in a place where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna be more authentic to myself?
I mean, I still obviously struggle with it to a degree, but it's a lot easier now that I've matured, because something you don't know when you become a Christian is that it's not like one day you're this way and the next day it's like all of your sin is gone and you never struggle with anything again. And that was like my assumption, because as we go later on into my story, like the fear came back. Like, I struggled with fear again later on in life. So the people pleasing for me actually ended up translating into my relationship with God. So I would find myself like just wanting to please God so much, which I think at the beginning was like pure. My intentions were pure to start with, but there was a degree of like self-righteousness where I wanted to please God so much. I would do anything for him. Like, I was willing to go on mission trips, and like I would fast. I'm not like boasting about it now to make myself like sound better, but I'm just looking back now, seeing that I was just so naive in the way I understood the relationship between us and God, because I believed that when you're a Christian, you're supposed to just like follow all these rules and then check all these boxes. And if I messed up, if I sinned, it was like God was angry at me, you know, like the fear comes in again. So it was like a form of bondage in my life where I was just like being hypercritical, not only of myself, but of others as well, and just like being a perfectionist to like a damaging degree. So yeah, the people pleasing ended up being in my relationship with God, and I was trying to be like God pleasing. And so I had to like break away from that as well, and just come to the realization that no, we are already accepted. We are already enough. Like, we're already forgiven because of what Jesus did on the cross, not because of anything we can do. Like, we don't have to add like the cross plus X, Y, and Z. Like, it's done. And that's why like Jesus said it's finished. And so I had to like come to that realization for myself, because you hear about it in church and stuff like that, but it had to become like a revelation for me. And so, yeah, and one of the things I forgot to mention is like, as soon as I became a believer, I wanted to go to church. Like, I just wanted to be around other Christians. And so there was a church that I went to with my mom for a year in Bulawayo. And then when we moved back to Harare, we found this other church here in Harare, and we went there for like 6-7 years. I joined the worship team. I discovered like I had this gift for songwriting and playing the guitar, which I think was directly related to giving my life to Christ. It's like it came hand in hand. It was like a gift that just came from that relationship. And so, yeah, we went to church, and I would do all these like youth camps and stuff for kids and Sunday school. And I grew so much. But at the same time, yeah, I was trying to people please God, which is impossible in a lot of ways. But yeah, that's me.
Wow. So a bit more about your purpose. You mentioned how you started going to church and you got involved in songwriting. You're a creative, you're not just a songwriter. Has that always been a part of you, the creativity part, or is it something that you just discovered as you went along?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, like I had a very interesting education. Like we were homeschooled a lot, and my dad would be the teacher at home. So one thing I forgot to mention is that my dad is a performer as well. He's an artist. He's a writer, songwriter, that sort of thing. And so when he used to homeschool us, he would just be like, here's 2 hours, go on the computer. Here's this music production software. Learn how to use it, you know? And so we would just be put in front of all this equipment and kind of like figure out how to use it ourselves. Like, I remember my brother and I being as young as like 8. Well, he was 8, I was like 6, and we would get like green screen and my dad's camera and like make a short film. Like, that's the kind of education he exposed us to. And so I don't know if it's because of indoctrination that I was like forced into the creative space, or if it was just a calling, but definitely it's something that I've always found interesting and exciting and so fun to like just make something from nothing. And I also went to an art school here in Harare for like 4 years, and I learned like how to draw and paint and stuff. And so yeah, definitely art has been like a huge part of my identity and everything. Yeah.
Wow. And so at what point did you think, okay, I'm going to make a career out of this? Is this something that you did for fun, or is it something that you always knew that, okay, I'm going to walk in this? And how has God moved you in that? Like, how have you seen him move in that journey?
Yeah, so I guess the first time I ever thought like, wow, this could actually be a career for me is the one time, I think I was like 10 or 11, I paid the rent with like an animation that I did.
Okay.
So there was a client who my dad was working with, and then I said, I can make something for this client. Like I told him like straight away, like I can do this, you know? And then I made like this little animation, and it was like for a really huge brand here, and they were so impressed with it. And he just kind of like got paid on behalf of me, because I was a minor. I couldn't get, you know, a salary or something like that. And then I paid the rent the 1 month, and I was just like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, you know, it's a profitable thing to do, like animation. And like for songwriting, I guess it's like the animation came first, and I wanted to make music videos. So I started to like sing into this terrible microphone and make these cute little animations for my songs. So that's kind of like how the songwriting started. I really do think it was like the animation that came first. Yeah.
It was. And so, how have you seen God lead you in that journey? Have you seen His hand, and how has He carried you through that?
Yeah, so when I first like became a Christian, I had no idea that I would end up writing songs and doing it like as a ministry. I thought that it was just gonna be, a career on the side. And I thought, I wanted to serve God, because as I got older and older and serving in the church, I knew that I wanted to impact people for eternity. I didn't want to just be on this earth and like build my own little kingdom and then, die and leave it. I wanted to do something for God's kingdom. And so for a number of years, like I remember when I was 18, 19 years old, I wanted to go into university to study like film and animation. And I just felt this like strong urge, like I should take a year off and just do missions. And there was actually a missions organization that came to my church and like did a presentation on, going on the ships and going overseas and that sort of thing. And so I just felt like this overwhelming urge to join them. And it's kind of like I thought, okay, throw all this that I've learned and all the stuff that I do in my spare time out the window. I'm going to preach, Ooh. And I also had like a lot of people around me that I guess their upbringing and their way of thinking was like, you can only serve God like either as like a teacher, a pastor, you can't do anything else outside of that. Like you have to just do these two things. So I actually wanted to be a teacher for like the longest time. I thought that was my calling. Like, and let's just fast forward a bit because it's a long winding road story. And so I was 19 years old, fresh out of high school, joining this missions organization, and then my parents divorced. So like all throughout my life there was turmoil in their marriage, but like I always believed that everything would be fine, like they would reconcile and would just be one big happy family again, right? But my dad, because he was in the entertainment industry, I think he got involved with like the wrong people, and he ended up like hooked on drugs and alcohol, and so it caused such a strain like on our whole family. So when they divorced, it felt like, I don't know, like I've been praying for so long that this family would stay together, and God like ignored me. And here I was on the mission field, I was serving God. He was definitely answer my prayers, And what I didn't understand was that like not everything you pray for gets answered. Like, but I was just so naive in thinking that I'm a generational curse breaker, and like just having this naivety when it comes to things like that. And so I found myself going on mission trips, like doing youth camps and stuff, talking to kids about God, but I felt like so rejected by God and like so abandoned by Him. And the divorce wasn't like just a clean cut, like it was years and years of back and forth and turmoil and fighting, and it was just like a real mess that affected me. And one of the things that like working at this missions organization was a lot of people that I opened up to about what was going on with my parents, they kind of like used it as ammunition, and they kind of like how can I say, discredited my faith. They were like, oh, there's no way Eden can be a missionary if she's going through this. Like,
wow,
her faith is not genuine. Like,
sure.
She's crazy. She's got issues, And obviously, like, when I was a young 20-something-year-old at this stage, going through this parents' divorce, like, going on a mission trip and crying on the bus, like, it was something that was happening on the regular. So I wasn't dealing with it very well. And I let people like discredit my faith because of that. But how I ended up leaving this missions agency was not only like being let down by spiritual leaders that I looked up to, like people that I trusted with, personal information, people that I thought would have my back. It was also really hard, like as a missionary, to raise support. Like I got a job to teach overseas and I couldn't get the visa. I couldn't get enough financial support because the way it worked was like you had to raise financial support to go. And instead of getting like people supporting me, all I was getting was, oh, she's got family problems. She can't do it, And so here I was saying like, but aren't I, born again, creation in Christ? Like, doesn't this qualify me? But so that never worked out. And then I tried to go on my own to this one country that was not the country that I wanted to go and teach at, but a neighboring one. It's like got like enough finances to go teach there and everything. After I went to Europe for like 3 months training, and then I just got like deported from this country, and it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life.
That sounds traumatic.
And I felt so alone in that, because not only was I was not under a mission organization. I didn't have anyone supporting me. My family had fallen apart. It was like I felt so alone in those moments, sitting in the airport going through this deportation process. And what had actually happened was the country that I was going to is very hostile towards Christianity, and they could tell that I wasn't just coming to teach. Like they could tell that I wanted to do something else, like preaching the gospel, that sort of thing. And so that was why the door was closed. And I like 100% believed like this was God's door. Like he had opened this door. I was going to go and teach and like help all these orphans, and like it was going to be this happy ending, but it didn't work out like that. And then I just remember sitting on the plane and like thinking to myself like, okay, this is clearly not working out. Like, God, what do you want me to do? Because I really thought that I was supposed to be a missionary teacher, And then I just, not that I heard a voice, but like, when you just know, like God like just sends messages into your heart. Like, I just knew in my heart that he was asking me like, what have I given you? Like, what are the gifts that you already have? I tear up thinking about it now. Because like I had like shunned this part of me that was the creative side and the artistic side, and I thought that God could never use that, and like I had to just kill this part of me. I get emotional thinking about it. And then when I landed in Zimbabwe, like the first thing I did was after like going back to church and explaining to everyone that, oh no, the missionary teaching thing didn't work out. It was very humiliating, very humbling. The first thing I did was I bought a laptop and a microphone, and I was like, all these songs that I've been writing since I was 12 years old need to come out, like, and that's like the roundabout journey of how I ended up here.
Wow, that is beautiful. Thank you.
The long way.
It was, but thank you for sharing that, because so many people get doors shut in their faces and they're just left wondering what to do next. And it's a beautiful thing to know that God's closing of doors doesn't mean that it's the end for you, or that he won't open another one. And it's a beautiful thing that you submitted to his call. And so how is the music journey going for you in that regard? Do you feel like you're in a place where this is where God wants me to be?
At the moment I would say yes. I do know that it has like a time, like there's a time frame to it. And if there's one word I could say how I feel, I just feel shielded. Like I just feel so protected and so like safe. in what I'm doing, and so at peace.
Mm.
Because that's one thing that was going on when I was sorry, I'm making noise with the bottle. One thing that was going on when I was with this mission agency was that I was not at peace. Even though it checked all the boxes, like kids love me, I love teaching, it on paper it just worked, it was correct what I was supposed to do, but I was not I was not at peace. And that was because I had forgotten like the creative little Eden that wanted to just make songs, and the person that God made me to be. Like, I shunned that person because of trying to please people and what they told me I should do. And so now I just feel like at peace being myself. Like, I get to create every single day and make songs and write songs, make videos. And it's like the best place to be, where you can make a living off of your passion and also just, have no limits to what you want to do every day. It's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. And so what do you think is, besides peace, what else do you think is the most rewarding thing about what you do?
That's a tricky one. What's the most rewarding thing? I guess I would say the impact that I have on people that listen to my songs. Like, it's not huge by any means. It's not like I have stadiums overflowing with people and, but the people that get it, when they get it and they message me and they say like, Eden, the song did X, Y, and Z for me. Like, I was going through this, and your testimony, and like when they connect with me, I tell you, it's like I found a diamond. It's just the most amazing feeling. Yeah. So fulfilling.
Wow. And so what would you say to someone who is trying to figure themselves out? Like, they're trying to figure who they are. They're trying to figure out what God wants them to do. What would you say to such a person?
I would say you have to go with your intuition. Like, God gives us intuition for a reason. And like, it's not an easy journey. Definitely, like, being in the music business, it's a podcast for another day. And I had to have a lot of discernment on what I say yes to, and who I let into my circle and who I work with. But your intuition is your best friend. Like, that's what I would say to anyone who's listening. Like, if you just get that ick, walk away. It's simple like that. And at the end of the day, like, our job is not to please people. Our job is to please God. And there's people that are successful, making money on the top, but God is not pleased with them. And there's people that are doing seemingly insignificantly, but God is pleased with them. And you just have to find where your place is and like where you're at peace with. And when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Are you happy with what you see? Are you betraying yourself in any way? That's what I would say. Yeah. In a nutshell, use your intuition. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eden, for your time and the nuggets, and just how honest and authentic you were in sharing your story. And I'm sure it will definitely encourage the listeners. So
I can keep going. Like, I'm enjoying this.
Well, we can have you back for part 2.
Oh, yes. I love that. I forgot to warn you that I'm a crier. But it's over now.
No, we appreciate the emotions. It means that what you're sharing is coming from a real and deep place. And we love that. And I think that's something that will resonate with our listeners as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Grace.
And until next time, thank you for listening. Goodbye.